Yep, yep. Ding, ding, let's go. So this concept that we have things that we want, or ways of being that we essentially want us to be, whether it be through physicality, through practice, through just regularity of things, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, environmental, maybe we want a house, a car, etc. So yeah, anything from any layer, we feel like we're right here, and that achievement, that goal, that success is beyond us. And that's totally fine. What we would be wise, that's why I twisted my tongue. We would be wise in remembering that things take time. It takes time to build something to completion. Us and our lives and our goals and successes, they take time, they take repetition, they take consistency, continuation, perseverance. So the reason I wanted to make this video specifically, I wanted to talk about the internal stuff, because as you may already know, and as I like to say, and as I've experienced, as many people have experienced, it starts within. It starts at the core, the heart, the soul. When we get that moving and grooving and going right and clarified and expand to a certain threshold extent, everything that is beyond it, right? You imagine the center of a sphere. You change the angle. Everything beyond it is completely shifted because you shifted at that core level. So, at the heart and soul and core, we may notice things that turn into mental, emotional things and or physical things, habits, tendencies, modalities, things that we don't like, things that we don't want, things that we don't like about how we think, or don't like about the actions that we're doing, and we want there to be a change. And this connected to, I was sending an email this morning to a teacher because I'm working with a specific kindergartner that is just not getting with the program. But I've been working in schools 11 years, so I know the routine of, this is where we're at, this is what we want. Okay, it's a matter of, and then this is connecting to the universal stuff. This is a matter of seeing that we're not at where we want to be, but we can do little chipping away here and there over time, over the weeks, over the months, chipping away one solidified action, one solidified movement after the next. And if we're doing that hour by hour, and that stacks on throughout the weeks and the months, we've inched towards, we've chipped away to get to the place where we want to be. I don't remember who said it, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Now, a lot of this stuff you may already know, but it's in the discussing of it with you, and then eventually, ideally, within yourself, the immersion before the pinpointing, before the chipping away and or the inching towards, we'll imagine it as a sphere chipping away and it's inching towards what it is at the core that it is that we're really trying to get to, that we're really trying to become. We're trying to clear away all this BS. We're trying to get to the core so that it could breathe, right? So the fact that, so it also made me think of a very true and real approach and modality in therapy, in psychotherapy, is, okay, you're afraid to do something, you're afraid to approach something. Okay, you accept where you are, and you make one small but particular and intentional move that gets you closer. So we'll use fear of driving on the highway. So let's just say you already drive, but the highway is just too much. So phase one can be, okay, well, think about driving on the road that has the exit to get on the highway. Just imagine that you're driving and then there's the exit to get on the highway. That's all we're doing for this phase. You're not even driving, you're imagining that you're driving and you're seeing the on-ramp to the highway and you can pass it on by. You're just driving, you're seeing the on-ramp, you're passing it on by. Okay, phase two, you're driving on the road, you're seeing the on-ramp for the highway, and you're passing it by. All the while, you're developing an acceptance, a mental, emotional neutrality about it. Okay, cool. Phase three, once that mental, emotional neutrality and acceptance is established, you're driving on the on-ramp. Okay? And, thoughts and emotions may arise. That's okay. You can handle it. You're driving on the on-ramp, but you're not merging onto the highway. You get on the on-ramp, and then you get on the off-ramp. You're not fully on the highway in that sense, on-ramp, off-ramp. You're just doing the swoop. You're seeing the fullness of the highway. Okay? Keep doing that over the days and weeks until you get that mental, emotional neutrality, that acceptance, on-ramp, off-ramp, viewing the highway in its entirety, on-ramp, off-ramp. Okay, you've done that. Awesome. To reach that neutrality, that acceptance. Phase 5. Drive on the highway for 1 mile, get off on the next exit. And if you need a 4.5, which is getting on the on-ramp, which you've already established the acceptance and neutrality, or you're envisioning on-ramp, full-on highway, get off on the next exit. You can envision that, and then as you're envisioning that, if you're noticing the uptake, the upswing of mind and emotions, okay, we're visualizing, the visualizing can end, and then come back to it the next day, the next week. but doing it every day. And then eventually, phase 5, doing it in person. Being on there for 1 mile, getting off on the next exit. Neutrality established, phase 6. Drive as long as you feel comfortable. Get off on the particular exit. So it's inching towards chipping the unnecessary away, chipping away of the mental, emotional baggage and non-beneficial essence, chipping away at that, getting closer to what you actually want, and actually getting there. So a lot of patience is involved. Yeah, sure. And consistency, yeah, sure. But if what's slowing us down is the mental, emotional stuff and us, swaying ourselves, convincing ourselves out of it and away from it, but there's this other aspect of you that wants it, that wants to do it, wants to be in this place, wants to be complete, wants to have this finished and done and successful. You are as you are currently, and we don't have to go from absolute A to absolute Z. If it's too tough to go from where we are currently, let's just say we're at A, to Z, if it's too much, we acknowledge it mentally, emotionally, neutrally, acknowledging it. It is what it is. We are where we are. No judgment, no conclusions. We are where we are, and we're moving forward. One step at a time. One patient, loving, caring, careful step at a time. It's tender, it's soft, it's patient. If we can muster up some encouragement and some, logical, situational logic, where, okay, this is where I am, this is where I want to be. It seems like a next helpful step is this. I'm going to get more towards that. Okay. I'm doing that. Awesome. Next step is over here. Moving towards that, chipping away. Getting closer to my goal. Awesome. And then celebrating all along the way. Wow. I'm further than I was 5 minutes ago. I'm further than I was yesterday. I'm much further than I was last month. If you've been doing it for a month or more, obviously. So it's the chipping away, the getting closer, the inching towards. It's baby steps. It's slight nudges. The nudges can be uncomfortable, understandably so. So we can push and challenge ourselves as far as we can, and to not judge, to not judge in a way that'll just psych us out of it. It's just not necessary, right? The natural logic of, look, I want things to get better. Crap talking myself, that's not helping. So I'm going to do less and less of that, and ideally, none of that. All right, is what it is. We're going. We're continuing on this trajectory, getting better and better, going. All right, cool. A little bit at a time, and celebrating each little accomplishment, not going too crazy, not putting us in an ego frenzy, or surrounding ourselves in an ego tunnel of, I'm awesome and only awesome, and, the past me was a piece of crap, the new me is so cool. So we're keeping our egos in check. So depending on who you are or where you find yourself currently, We can either be slightly vigilant about a potential inferior ego, or vigilant towards a slightly superior ego. Do we think we're just so awesome? Do we think we're just not okay? So there's another aspect to be slightly diligent about, and I say slightly specifically because anything can be taken too far. So, like the topic at hand, and like just general observation, self-observation, and self-diligence, taken lightly, tenderly, patiently, encouragingly, as much as we can muster, as much as we can handle, and then we rest. And then, as an upward expanding spiral or an expanding sphere, in due time, we find ourselves more expanded, more clarified than we were just moments before. And that's what I live for, and that's what my people also live for, and just the people out there in general who vibe with this stuff. So we'll tie that in with respects, as I like to end the video. Respect, mad respect to you, to me, to all the people who are taking things in stride, who are looking for the clarification and expanding of self, of I, at the heart and soul and core level, clarifying and expanding all along the way, better than we found ourselves even just moments ago. Respect, respect, respect. And respect to all of us just surviving, and us being able to cooperate, collaborate in symbiosis with life. You know, the quote-unquote good, the quote-unquote bad. It's a very deep, layered situation that we find ourselves in. And of course, with a bit of optimism, we could say all of the amazingness that we're surrounded by, and like the choices and the just the extracurriculars of it all. You know, and nature in general, how beautiful it can be. But for the sake of balance, we could just also mention that life can be absolutely crazy. So respect to even just surviving and to just making your way through the world. And respect to the forces, the layers, the dimensions of life that are keeping us alive, right? The food, air, the water, the shelter, the people, the, dare I say, the etheric, the metaphysical stuff, right? Where it's like, what is beating our heart and things like that. So respect, respect, respect. This and so much more, right? Not to mention all of the mystery, the not knowing of what we don't know. Woo! All of this and more. This is Mac 11. Catch you later.